Hey guys, this is Colby here with I Hope for the Rapture is Tonight on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, just know that I might transfer this video to YouTube. So if you want to know my YouTube channel, it's I Hope for the Rapture Tonight. Or you can type in Colby Widener on YouTube and you'll see these videos. I believe my YouTube account name for these type of videos is Colby, is Anderson Colby. So, anyways, yeah, I basically can't, I usually don't do videos this often, because, it's just, I don't like to constantly do videos because I feel like, the Bible says, if your salt lose its saltiness, right? And I don't want people to think that this is like just conspiracy, right? And there's enough news to really talk about every day. And there's enough news where I could report it every day and it would never, it just comes, repetitively all the time. New information, escalations, all that stuff. So the sources and how much news we're getting, that's not the issue. The issue is, I usually don't post a video as often, but I'm starting to pick up the pace a little bit now because there's just a sense of urgency. So I've pretty much just decided that whenever I am feeling led or whenever I feel as if this is the right time to make a video or to talk about some crucial things, just go ahead and do it and not put it off. And if people want to hear, they'll hear it. And I hope that you do hear it because it's important. I'm not the best, talker as far as, I'm not like some of these other watchmen out here that have a pretty good, talent for talking as far as being able to talk to people in a way that, people can actually listen. But that even though I may not be as talented as they are in speech, talking to a lot of people, I do feel as if, I am called to do the same thing. So without any further ado, I guess let's just get right into it. As you can see, there's a black screen. I just wanted to talk. I didn't want to, do the whole thing, the whole shebang. I just wanted to talk about some very important things that you need to understand, that you need to get, if you are left behind, and there's just no other way to put it. So I touched on this a little bit in my last video, if you were live and you saw it, but I'm gonna really talk about it today in more detail. There is a mass deception going on right now, and the Bible does say that in the last days, okay, men will, instead of worshiping God, instead of looking at God, they'll start to look to other things to make those things God. And the Bible also says that in the last days, God will send a strong delusion so that the people who don't want to accept the gift of salvation, those who reject and scoff at the Bible, in 2 Peter, it talks about the scoffers and mockers will rise in the last days. Those who do not want to accept the gospel, God will allow a delusion to take them over. It's a part of judgment. And right now, there is a mass delusion going on. Part of it is that God is allowing Satan to, and his demon agents and cohorts, he's allowing them to do more. And also God himself is basically is allowing and is actually doing some of the solidification of people's of what they've made up their mind on. The most important one of those aspects is that all the UAF, UFO disclosures, all of that you're seeing now, you're talking about supposed high-ranking officials. I've seen the videos. High-ranking officials talking about, how they're ready to do major disclosure, and how they pulled non-human life forms out of a craft that crashed. And on top of this, you got the war in Ukraine that's escalating. That's bringing the world closer to a nuclear strike. You're also talking about geopolitically, there's a meltdown going on. Major countries of the world are siding with BRICS, which I really touched on that in my last video. But if you don't know what BRICS are, you can look it up, or I can just explain it to you briefly now. BRICS is it is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and some other countries, and that's really the abbreviation for it, is BRICS. But it's basically other countries not trusting the US dollar because of our economy and how inflation has skyrocketed here. So other countries are not trusting the US dollar for the backup currency. Now, the backup currency is something that we have been basically the empire of for decades. I mean, and again, I love my country. I'm not bad-mouthing my country. Again, I'm against corruption. And it doesn't matter what country you're in, even my own country, if there's corruption, as a true patriot, I'm to expose that. And what I'm exposing right now is the fact that, we are financially not, we are sliding into a major recession. And other countries see this, and they've basically had it with putting up with the United States. So they went to Russia, and they're going to start using the ruble, which all these other countries it's already a done deal. They've already taken part in BRICS, and it's a solid thing now. And so, but more and more countries are siding, and they're going to start using the Russian ruble as the backup currency. Okay, and that's a big deal because that usurps the U.S. as basically the main superpower of the world. If a country uses your currency, if a whole lot of countries use your currency as backup currency, that means that you are essentially the superpower that they're trusting. But the U.S. is not that anymore. It's gone to Russia. Now, if you think that the wildfires and the earthquakes and the hurricanes, although I know we're in hurricane season, but if you put all that together, along with our recession, along with the mass shootings that happen weekly, where people are just dying in city streets, in malls and shopping centers, families, if you think all that's normal, if you think that all of a sudden the UAP or the UAF or whatever they're calling it now, they changed the terms, pretty often, but let's just say UFOs. I mean, if you think that all this is normal, that all of a sudden, things are just, it's like the whole world is there's a, it's not looking good in any area. And things are escalating in a lot of places. And if you think that that's normal, I have to tell you, it's not normal. But the Bible says that Jesus says this in Matthew 24. He talks about how in the last days, how it is now in our present. Well, back then, he was talking about how it's likened to the days of Noah. See, back in the days of Noah, in Genesis, okay, back in those days, God told Noah to build an ark because people had become so violent, so murderous. incest, rape, you're talking about demon worship on a whole nother level. You're talking about just a world filled with just complete and utter evil. God said that he looked down and saw that the imaginations of the heart were only evil continually. That's why he told Noah to build an ark, that because he was going to flood the world. It grieved God that people had become so evil, so violent, that he had to basically start it over. But Noah had years upon years upon years to build an ark. And God told Noah it's coming, and Noah believed God. And as he was building this ark, you got to understand something, that it wasn't an overnight thing. It took years. It took Noah's practically his whole lifetime to build this thing. And, his family, I'm sure, was sometimes questioning if he had heard God right. And then the world around him was mocking Noah continuously for decades, because they were like, rain, it's never flooded that way before. You really think that your God's going to flood the earth? And, they just kept scoffing and mocking. They kept going about their everyday lives. They were marrying and giving in marriage. They were hanging out, having parties, pretending like nothing's going to happen, going to their friend's house, going to whatever sports they had back then. And, just willfully ignorant of what God said to Noah. They saw the evidence that Noah was preparing for something, and they mocked him. Well, Jesus likens that to these days now that we're in, where people are going to be going about their everyday life. They're going to be seeing evidences that things aren't normal, but they're going to continue to go forward and say that nothing's happening, and when clearly it is. So all this stuff that you're seeing right now is not normal, but it is, to us Christians, it's not a surprise. We knew this was coming. Now, I want to talk about the UFOs for just a brief second, because that was one of the main reasons I got online today. So the UFO disclosures, you see all these officials talking about it. You're seeing these videos where there's a craft that seems to defy physics and all that stuff. See, originally when these reports were coming out, a lot of these people were just thinking about this, to their shock and awe, obviously. But they were looking at this and basically saying, we've never seen a craft like this before. And, they basically took the traditional view that it was an alien from outer space, okay? That they were beings from another universe or whatever. Well, now the consensus has changed among the people who are going out public and talking about these things. And that is, they don't have any reason to believe that these things are coming from what we would call, another galaxy. They're coming from another dimension because of how they interfere with the environment, how they can appear and then suddenly just be gone. Suddenly pop in and pop out, just as soon as you're looking at it, it vanishes. So a lot of people, of course, are still viewing this as aliens. But the consensus is changing, and I believe that God is trying to show the world that these are not aliens, that they're demons posing as aliens. Because ultimately, all of this is going to lead to the world's excuse for what happened when we, as true born-again believers, are raptured out of here. See, when we're raptured, you're talking about millions of people. We're the minority, really, so maybe thousands of us, but let's just say millions. You're going to be seeing numerous multitudes of people vanishing from different parts of the world. Now, what you're going to be left with is a society that has just witnessed something that they never thought that they would see. And they're going to be wondering what just happened. And they're going to be literally, some people are just going to automatically assume that it's aliens because of the indoctrination of Satan's plan with all this. But there are going to be some people who are on the fence initially. I believe that these people are going to be church people, religious people that went to church, thought they were saved, but they never really had a moment where they actually realized how sinful they are and asked Jesus to save them from hell. They never really truly believed in the gospel. They saw it and they believed the history of it, but they never actually believed it for themselves to get saved. And these people are going to be left behind. And I think that these people are going to have a little bit more, let's just say, they're going to be hesitant at first to just say that it was aliens. But as time goes on, I do believe that they will acquiesce to the lie, the narrative that's being told, which is extraterrestrials from a different universe. If that happens, let's just put it this way. If you're here when that happens, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Let's just put it this way. If you are left behind, if you don't accept Christ, and you see this, know this, that what you just witnessed is not aliens from another universe. It is God removing his people out of the way because wrath is coming. God's wrath upon the earth is coming. So, what do you do about all this? Well, you're probably going to believe the narrative that the media has been pushing out since that event took place. Now, I'm talking about after the rapture. If you're not saved, you will end up wanting to believe the narrative. You will not go to God. You will not try to find answers in the Bible. You will go and believe the narrative because it'll be easier. You'll want instant comfort, which is going to be a false comfort. And you're also going to be, shocked and scared. And so you're going to believe the narrative. And I don't want that for you. So that's why I'm warning you now that do not believe it. If you witnessed the rapture, but you weren't saved, you're going to believe that it's aliens. Also, there is a high probability that the same way these demons are able to pop in and pop out and do these sort of materialize and dematerializing, occurrences, there's a fair probability that you're going to see aberrations in the sky. Things that look like alien ships or whatnot, and it's just all a lie. See, the Bible says that Satan can do lying wonders. Now that's lying, Lying, lying as if not telling the truth. Satan can perform miracles that are false. He can perform signs and wonders, but they're a lie. Okay, and that's the only thing that he can do is lie. So if you see these things in the sky, your senses are going to be overloaded. Your eyes, your ears are going to be overloaded with what you're seeing, with what you're hearing. But I'm telling you, do not believe that. Do not believe what you're seeing. Know this, that God took us. What you're seeing is a way to get you to believe in a lie. And if you believe in the lie, then Satan, the Antichrist, has got you. Because now you'll believe whatever he says. You'll believe that bad people were taken, that that the higher evolved were left behind. You're gonna believe that he's gonna bring world peace. You're gonna believe that he is the hero, that he is the leader that's gonna save you all. You're just gonna buy into it. And then when the mark of the beast comes around, Revelation 13, you'll take it because you'll believe He's going to reveal himself to be the Antichrist eventually. He's not going to use the word Antichrist, but he's going to start blaspheming the God of heaven. He's going to start blaspheming Jesus Christ. He's going to start just completely going off the wall and railing against God. When that happens, you're going to truly see who he is. But you're going to be so invested in his lie that you're not going to be able to turn away. If you take that mark of the beast, then you will be damned forever. And there's just no way to put it. There's no nice way to put it. So you can avoid all this, but you probably will not believe me until it happens. You're probably not going to believe any Christian that told you about the rapture until it happens. And that's a sad thing, but, you know, I hope that at least you will understand what I'm saying after the event has happened. Now, I don't want you to be left behind. I want you to get saved right here, right now. But I cannot control what you do. That is up to you and your free will. So don't believe the lie that it was aliens. Also, like I said, there's just a couple points I wanted to talk about tonight. And I'll probably keep talking about it until we are raptured. Because I just feel like it's the right thing to do. It's highly necessary. It's what I feel like I'm called to do. Honestly, I'm 100% convinced that I am called to warn you guys as a watchman. So, you know, without a doubt in my mind, you know, a few years ago, I read Ezekiel. I don't know if you guys realize this, but I went to San Diego for a while. But before that, I was trying to figure out what in the world I should do. And, I was reading in the book of Ezekiel, I believe it was, chapter 3 and on. Actually, I had a dream about it, and that's why I turned to Ezekiel. I was not familiar with the book of Ezekiel. So I had a random dream about it, and it wasn't so random because I understand why now. But I had a dream, and so I got into the book of Ezekiel, and I realized in the book of Ezekiel it says that if a watchman does not warn the people around him, and the judgment comes, and people don't believe the watchman, then he's done his part regardless. But if the watchman does not warn the wicked, does not warn the people around him, does not warn the people that are asleep, does not warn the people who don't want to see, and judgment comes and he did not warn them, then their blood will be on his hands because he saw what was coming. He didn't say anything. So God says that we who know are supposed to warn, regardless of if you believe or not. So from that day forward, there was not a second thought in my mind. I knew that I was called to be a watchman. So that's what I'm doing. And so, that's what all of these videos is really about, is just me fulfilling that. Just doing what I know to do now. But anyway, so there's another threat too that I want to, well, the rapture is not a threat. The rapture for the Christian is the blessed hope. But there's another part here that I want to talk about, which is that there were drones that came from, I believe it was a NATO country. I'd have to look it up now. I've had so many things going on today. I don't want to say Lithuania, but it came from a neighboring NATO country. They just attacked Russia. Now, up until this point, Ukraine has been sending the drones to attack the Kremlin. But this time around, it came from a NATO country. It actually, British special forces were were part of NATO, part of the NATO alliance that conducted this attack, or British intelligence, I should say. And the United States has also taken part in this, and Russia has actually traced where these drones came from, and it came from a NATO country. Now, this is still developing, so I'll hear more, but you're not going to hear this on the mainstream media. Because the mainstream media, if something is truly going to happen, they downplay it. And if something is of no significance, they blow it up. I'll give you an example. They blow up, whenever there's a mass shooting, they say that it was due to racism, and they blow up racism. They blow it up and they make it seem like everything is racist. Okay, but then, they never talk about what's going on in North Korea or what's going on in Russia. They hardly ever talk about the implications of that, and they always do a whole news story around gay rights and transgender rights and how people who don't support it are haters. They blow that story up, but they never want to talk about, the corruption that's going on in the White House right now. They never want to talk about that. So whatever, there's a narrative. They never talk about the things they actually should talk about. They always talk about the things that are irrelevant. And it's because they're bought and paid for by the state. And, I really don't care if you believe me or not. It's the truth. They're bought and paid for by the state. And so the state tells them what to say. And the reason they don't want to talk about the major stuff is because they want people to be in line. They don't want, because if people found out that the United States is about to get into a nuclear war, if people found that out here in the United States, do you realize that there would be a uproar against the White House? And do you really think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the lame Biden administration, do you really think that they're going to want to deal with an uproar when they can just go to their nuclear bunkers and just, be safe? Do you really think they're going to want to deal with the White House being surrounded by citizens who found out that they were being lied to about the seriousness of this conflict in Ukraine and Russia? No, they're not going to want that. They don't want people to find out. They want a smooth escape. They don't want people to find out. So that's why they don't say anything, because they know that if they told people the truth, people would say, well, why didn't you tell us this sooner? So that's why they don't say anything. But the very real reality is that Russia is preparing to do something. Now, again, this story is still developing. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But eventually, Russia, China, and North Korea will take out the United States eventually. That's in Bible prophecy. Okay? China plays a big role. Russia is the leader of the Gog and Magog war that invades Israel. That's Ezekiel 38 right there. If you read the book of Ezekiel all the way to chapter 38, you'll see it. But these are major players. So eventually we will be off the grid. We will no longer be a factor anymore to these nations. So we do know that we will be destroyed. But the only thing we're looking at here is what is going to basically light the ignition for that. Okay? And as things unfold, I just want you guys to be aware that these are very serious things. These are not things that, are petty, that are untrue. These are very serious and true things that are happening. A lot of people want to put their head in the sands. They want to pretend like nothing's going to happen. A lot of people, even with things like a hurricane, they say, oh, it's not going to hit us. It's not going to hit us. I went to Florida last year after they had the hurricane. And in Florida, I was helping my job at the time. They sent me down there to clean up a little bit at the same company, but a different location. You know, it was again a location in Florida, and we were there helping out. And I was talking to a lot of customers who were buying things from the store, who were saying things like, "Man, I should have just evacuated. I should have, because now, you know, my car is not, it's gone, and my house is flooded. And it's just a terrible, terrible thing. You know, I should have just paid more attention, and I should have evacuated when they told me to evacuate." There were a lot of people like that who were miserable, mad at themselves because they did not prepare. And they did not want to see that this storm was going to get that bad. They thought, oh, well, we've had hurricanes before in the past. This is not going to do anything. And then it tore down their home. And they have no way of getting around town now. Someone has to pick them up, or, you know, it's just become something that is just, you know, it's completely ruined their way of doing things. And right now, their way of life. And so that's the same thing that's going on now, is that people are looking at all this stuff. You got older people saying, oh, well, the Cold War happened, and, you know, they said they were going to nuke us, and they never did. And they think that it's the same now. They think that it's the same exact thing. We have different leaders in different parts of the country, in different countries now. We have leaders that do not think the same way. Situations have become different. Tensions are different. Things are different now. It's not the 60s any longer. Okay, we are in a new time. We are in a time that is really worse than the Cold War. We're now dealing with an active situation where now other countries are getting involved in the war in Ukraine. It's World War III, guys. And you got to be aware that, you know, just because, you know, yes, the past happened and we can learn things about the past, but we are not living in the past. We are living in the right here and right now. And things are not the same as they were then. And if you believe that, I have to say with, you know, all kindness, that you are incorrect and you're ignorant. So, you know, I just want you guys to be aware that even if you don't listen to this video, even if you don't even watch this video, even if you hate me, you know, it doesn't matter, because my job is to warn you. I just want you guys to know something. The only way to get prepared for what's coming is to accept Jesus Christ to save you. Okay. You don't get right before you come to God. That's not how salvation works. The gospel is not you doing good things to get to heaven, because none of us deserve heaven. We're all sinners. And God says in James that if you break one part of the law, you're guilty of it all. That means if you ever told a white lie, you're guilty of murder. That's how God looks at it. You're a sinner. Okay? We have no chance of not being a sinner. The only chance we have of escaping hell, which was made for Satan and his angels, it was made so that God can deal righteously, to judge Satan righteously in hell. It's a quarantine for evil. But if you continue to mock and scoff at salvation, you're doing the same thing that Satan does. And so you end up putting yourself in hell. And God's not going to force you to be in heaven with him. If you're scoffing at him, I mean, obviously you don't want God. So, I mean, that's the truth. But God doesn't want you to go to hell. God made a way for you. His name is Jesus. And if you accept Jesus Christ, if you accept the fact that you are a sinner, if you just admit that you've done wrong, that you are broken God's laws at least once, if you accept that, and you accept that Jesus died for your sin, you will be saved. See, the thing is, people want to mix, do good stuff. They want to mix, you know, good outweighs bad. They want to mix all this false stuff in there. That's not how you get saved. If you live a good life, that's not what saves you. You go to church, you've been going to church for 20 years. That's not what saves you. You say, how dare you say that, Colby? That's not the gospel. That's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible says that we are saved by grace through faith, yea, not by works, lest any man should boast. We are saved by God's grace when we have faith that he can save us. When we ask him to save us, when we ask him to forgive us, he will save us, and we will not experience hell, and we will be rapture ready. We will be prepared automatically for the rapture. That's how you get saved. It's not religion. It's not what you do. It's not how good of a person you are, because none of us are good. We're all sinners. If you can't bring yourself to the point to where you know you're a sinner, then, it's you know you are a sinner. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that they have done wrong towards God deep down inside. They can try to suppress it. They can try to pretend like they haven't done anything, but deep down in their core, they know it. The problem is, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to continue to live a life without Jesus Christ, without him saving you? Or are you going to take your chances when you die and basically tell God, when he asks you, why should I let you into heaven? And you tell him, oh, because I'm a good person. God is not going to let you into heaven that way. He's not. The only way you can get to heaven is through accepting Jesus' forgiveness. People spend 60, 70 years of their life rejecting a 3-second decision. Guys, don't be like that. Don't be like that. People think that God's going to take something away from them when they get saved. Yeah, he's going to take away your anxiety. He's going to take away your hopelessness. Yeah, he's going to tell you what's right and what's wrong, but it's a gradual thing, It's not. He's not taking things away from you. He's saved you, and he's continuing to save you. It's called sanctification. So, but once you're saved forever. There's nothing that can change that. So if you think, well, what if I get saved and I do something bad? Well, Jesus Christ's forgiveness and in the redemption that he gave you covers all your sins. Okay? It covers everything. Now, that's not a permission to go out and sin, but it covers all your sins. Whether you're still fighting your addictions, whether you're, whatever it may be, or whatever degree it might be, Jesus Christ can forgive you right now, and you will be forgiven forever. Okay? Nothing can make you lose your salvation. Okay? Nothing. Once you get saved, you're saved forever, and Jesus Christ's blood covers all your sin. Now, that's good news. If you don't think that's good news, I don't know what to tell you. But what I really do want you to realize here is that we're running out of time. You're running out of time. And I don't want you to be left here while the tribulation period begins. I want you to go to heaven with us. But again, guys, I just wanted to, restate some things that I had said. That way, I know for certain that I've done my job in this area. I love you guys. Talk to you later.